Let's start with your homework and essay about your daily routines. Za domaći zadatak ste imali da napišete kratak sastav ili esej o svojim dnevnim rutinama. Routines are something you do every day. Znači nešto što radimo svakog dana. So what do we do every day? Šta to radimo svakog dana? We wake up, we brush our teeth and wash our face. We have breakfast. We go to school. Then the school finishes and we do our homework. And then sometimes we watch TV or play computer games. I'm sure you play computer games. And then in the evening we go to bed. And on Saturdays and Sundays you usually play with your friends, don't you? And some of you have some lessons like a piano lesson or some other lesson at the weekend. So, how can you write an essay? Pa kako smo mogli da napišemo sastav? Let's see. I wake up at 7 o'clock every day. Budim se u 7 svakog dana. Then I brush my teeth and wash my face. Zatim perem zube i umivam se. I usually have breakfast at 7:15, or we can say 7:15. Sećamo se ovog iz 4. razreda kako smo izražavali sate. So, obično imam doručak u 7:15. I always go to school at 7:30 in the morning. Uvek idem u školu u 7:30 ujutro. I am never late for school. Nikada ne kasnim u školu. School finishes at 1:30, or we can say 1:30. Škola se završava u 1:30. After school, I normally do my homework. Posle škole uobičajeno radim svoj domaći. In the evening, I sometimes watch TV or play computer games. Ponekad gledam TV ili igram kompjuterske igrice. I regularly go to bed at 9 o'clock. Redovno idem u krevet u 9 sati. On Saturdays and Sundays, I play with my friends. Subotom i nedeljom se igram sa svojim prijateljima. So, I'm sure this wasn't so difficult. Sigurna sam da nije bilo tako teško da napišete svoj domaći. But, if you had some problems and you couldn't write your essay, take a photo of this and try and do it again. Ukoliko ste imali bilo kakvih poteškoća, možete uslikati i uz ovu pomoć uraditi esej, to jest sastav, ponovo u svojim sveskama. And now, let's see the words we use for present simple. Koje to odrednice koristimo uvek za present simple, to jest radnju koja se dešava uobičajeno ili svakog dana. We use every day, svakog dana, usually, obično, always, uvek, never, nikad, normally, uobičajeno, sometimes, ponekad, regularly, redovno, and we can say on Saturdays and Sundays, subotom i nedeljom, or we can say at the weekend. Ovim odrednicama ćemo pričati malo kasnije u toku ovog časa. So we will speak about these words later in this class. And now let's move on. Let's repeat the present simple affirmative or positive form. Kako gradimo potvrdan oblik od present simple? So this is revision. Revision means ponavljanje. So it's simple. Jedan jednostavan oblik građenja. So we use just the verb. Koristimo samo glagol, bez ikakvih dodataka for I, you, we and they. Znači za oblike koristimo samo glagol. But what happens if we have he, she, and it. We use verb, but we also add s or es. Prisjećamo se da za treće lice jednine, to jest sve ono što možemo zameniti zamenicama he, to jest osobe muškog roda, she, sve osobe ženskog roda, and it, sve što je neživo, zamenjujemo zamenicom it. Za treće lice jednine na glagol je potrebno dodati s ili s. Ali kada ćemo dodati taj s nastavak? So we add es if the verb, ukoliko se glagol završava with š, č, s, ks, or o, and then we add es and we say is. Taj s nastavak u tom slučaju izgovaramo sa is. U svim drugim slučajevima, ukoliko se glagol ne završava na ove nastavke, dodat ćemo samo s za treće lice jednine. So let's see one exercise. Complete the sentences with the present simple form of these verbs. Hajde da u rečenicama koje su ovde upotrebimo glagole like, take, play, and start u present simple tense. The first lesson at 9:15. 9:15 or 9:15, znači prvi čas, what? Starts at 9:15. Prvi čas počinje u 9:15. Zašto smo ovde dodali s na glagol? The first lesson, prvi čas, zamenjujemo kojom zamenicom? Rekli smo sve što je neživo zamenjujemo zamenicom it. And for it, to the verb, we add s or es. So starts because it's it. The first lesson or it. Next one. I tennis on Saturday mornings. What verb do we use here? Of course, I play tennis on Saturday mornings. For I, we use just the verb, no s or es. Znači ovdje ne dodajemo nikakav nastavak jer za I ide samo glagol. Kate and I, the bus to school. We say take the bus, ići autobusom. So do we add something to the verb? Da li dodajemo nešto na glagol? No, because Kate and I are we, and for we use just the verb. And the last one, my brother, Mats, what verb do we use? Yes, it's verb like, but we add s, likes. Moj brat voli matematiku because my brother is he, and we use verb like with s, likes. Okay? And one more exercise. Let's add the third person form for these verbs. Hajde da dodamo oblik za treće lice jednine od ovih glagola. Verb go ends with o, so we add es and we say goes. Verb get, t, so no sh, ch, s, so we add just s. Gets. Finish, so sh, and we add es and we say is, so we get the form finishes. Kiss, double s, so we add es and we have kisses. It would be wrong to say kiss, kisses, so it's even very hard to say. Čak je jako teško izgovoriti, a ukoliko bismo dodali samo s. Alright? I ponavljamo, znači oblik s ili es na glagolu ide samo za treće lice jednine, za he, she, and it. And now, let's see the present simple negative form. Kako gradimo odričan oblik? Again, revision. So, we use don't and doesn't with the verb. Primećujemo da ovde na glagolu nema nikakvih nastavaka. ali koristimo oblik don't for I, you, we and they, and doesn't for he, she and it. Znači doesn't samo za he, she, it, don't za sva druga lica. So let's see the sentences. Rewrite these sentences into negative form. Hajde da ove rečenice napišemo u odričnom obliku. We have the sentence Lucy has a guitar lesson on Mondays. Lucy ima čas gitare ponedjeljkom. And we say on Mondays, što znači svakog ponedjeljka. And how we can say Lucy nema čas gitare ponedjeljkom? So Lucy is she, right? So for negative we use doesn't and the verb. Potrebno je da koristimo doesn't i glagol, zato što je Lucy she, ženskog roda, i da sa glagola skinemo taj s koji smo dodavali u potvrdnom obliku i da ga vratimo u njegov običan oblik, osnovni oblik glagola. So, we have Lucy, or she, doesn't have a guitar lesson on Mondays. Lucy nema čas gitare ponedjeljkom. Next sentence is I get up at 7:30 on Sundays. Ustajem u 7:30 nedeljom. And we want to say ne ustajem u 7:30 nedeljom. So for I, we use don't and the verb, and we say how? Of course, I don't get up at 7:30 on Sundays. Ne ustajem u 7:30 nedeljom. Next one, my brother plays football after school. My brother is he, right? So for negative sentence, we use doesn't and the verb, and we say, my brother doesn't play football after school. Opet pazimo da ide osnovni oblik glagola, ne treba nam više nastavak s koji se koristi samo u potvrdnom obliku, u odričnom ga nema. And the last one, we do our homework before dinner. Radimo naš domaći zadatak pre večere. So for we use don't in negative and the verb, and we say we don't do our homework before dinner, right? Ne radimo svoj domaći zadatak pre večere. So be careful, for he, she and it we use doesn't and the verb with no s. Znači pazimo da ovdje ne dodamo s ili s kao u potvrdnom obliku i da za sva druga lica ne ide doesn't nego don't u negaciji. Okay? And now questions and short answers. Kako ćemo kratko odgovoriti na pitanje da li nešto radimo uobičajeno? Of course, we can say just yes or no and everybody will understand what we mean. Znači svako će nas razumeti ukoliko kratko odgovorimo samo da ili ne. But let's do it correctly. Hajde da uradimo to na pravilan način. Za he, she, it ćemo koristiti does ili doesn't, zavisno od potvrdnog ili odričnog oblika. And for I, you, we, and they, we use do or don't in the short answer. So let's see some questions. Do polar bears live in your country? Da li polarni medvedi žive u tvojoj državi? Do you see polar bears in Serbia? Of course you don't. So the answer is no. And polar bears, kojom zamenicom ćemo zameniti polar bears? Polarni medvedi ili oni? And we say oni, they in English. So the answer is no, they don't. They for polar bears. Next one is, does Mary play the violin? Da li Mary svira violinu? And the answer is yes. Kojom zamenicom zamenjujemo Mary? Of course, it's she, so we say yes, she does, right? Now you try. Does Tom walk to school? What's the answer? That's right. No, he doesn't, because Tom is he. So we say no, he doesn't. And try again. Do you and your friends play football? Da li ti I tvoji prijatelji igrate futbol? And the answer is yes. That's right. Yes, we do. Da, mi igramo. Okay? So be careful that we use do and don't for all others except he, she, and it, where we use does and doesn't. But what happens if we have WH questions? Kod malo kompleksnijih pitanja koje koriste upitne zamenice kao što su when, kada, where, gde, what, šta ili what time, u koje vreme, uvek stavljamo na početak rečenice. Then we use do for I, we, you, and they with the verb. You remember this? This is just the revision. But what happens if we use he, she, and it in a sentence? Then we use does. Again, the verb doesn't have s or es. Pazimo da opet I u upitnom obliku, kao I u odrečnom, na glagol ne dodajemo ni s ni es, kao što to radimo u potvrdnom obliku. So let's practice some questions. If we have the answer, winter starts in June in Australia. Ukoliko je odgovor na pitanje zima počinje u junu u Australiji, what is the question? Do you see this in June, u junu? So what's the question? How we start the question? Of course, with when or kada. Kada zima, hoćemo da pitamo kada zima počinje u Australiji. And we say when, right? We start with when. And then winter is it, right? Znači winter, zima, je neživi pojam. Zamenjujemo ga zamenicom it, pa je stoga potrebno koristiti does. So when does winter start in Australia? Šta smo ovde uradili? Koristili smo does zato što je winter treće lice jednine I sa glagola smo skinuli s nastavak jer on ide samo u potvrdnom obliku, u upitnom obliku ne stoji. Kada zima počinje u Australiji? Next sentence is penguins live in the Antarctic. Pingvini žive na Antarktiku. So, how we can say in the Antarctic? Koje pitanje koristimo za Antarctic? To jest, odgovor je in the Antarctic and the question is where? And penguins, kojom zamenicom menjamo penguins? Of course, they, oni, so we use do here. And we say, where do penguins live? Gde pingvini žive? Da bismo dobili odgovor, penguins live in the Antarctic. Next one is Dave lives in London. Dave živi u Londonu. I ponovo vidimo ovo s na glagolu koje se stavlja za he, because Dave is he. But what's the question? In London, again, is where, gde. And because Dave is he, we use where. Where does Dave live? Right? And live with no s, glagol live nema s, jer je u pitanju upitan oblik gde se s izostavlja. Alright? And now, adverbs of frequency. Prilozi za učestalost. Šta je učestalost? Pa koliko nešto često radimo. I na početku časa smo spomenuli neke od njih u onom našem kratkom eseju, kratkom sastavu iz domaćeg zadatka. So let's see the adverbs of frequency again. Always, never, not often, often, sometimes and usually. Njih često viđamo u obliku present simple jer je to radnja koja se, naučili smo, dešava uobičajeno. So, how we can put them from 0% to 100%? Hajde da ih posložimo na osnovu njihove učestalosti. Never means nikad, so it's 0%. What's the next one? Of course, it's not often. Ne tako često. Then, we can say sometimes, ponekad. Then, often, često. Then, usually, obično. And the most frequent, onaj koji je najučestaliji, je always or uvek. So 100%. And now, very important, nešto vrlo važno. Gde ćemo ih smestiti u rečenici? So let's see the rules about their place in a sentence. Rule number 1. After an, is or are. Znači, ukoliko imamo glagol to be ili glagol biti, prilog za učestalost, ova koja smo sada ponovili malo pre, stoje posle glagola to be. For example, my dad is always busy. Is verb to be, so always the adverb of frequency goes after. Rule number 2. Before the verb. Ukoliko je neki drugi glagol u pitanju koji nije glagol to be, adverb of frequency, znači prilog za učestalost, stoji pre njega. For example, Maria sometimes goes to school. Marija ponekad ide u školu. So goes je glagol and sometimes goes before. Rule number 3. Between don't or doesn't and the verb in the negative. Znači ukoliko imamo oblik za negaciju u kojem smo rekli da koristimo don't and doesn't, prilog za učestalost stoji između oblika don't ili doesn't i glagola. For example, she doesn't often eat ice cream. Ona ne jede sladoled tako često. Let's practice this. We need to correct the mistakes in the sentences. Hajde da ispravimo greške u sledećim rečenicama. What's wrong with this? I often don't go to the cinema. Vidimo oblik negacije don't i glagol. Rekli smo u tom slučaju adverb of frequency goes between, ide između. So often needs to go here. So the correct sentence is I don't often go to the cinema. Ne idem tako često u bioskop. Let's see the next one. Lisa never is late for school. Something is wrong here. Do you see the verb is? That's verb to be. So we need to put never after the verb to be. And the correct sentence is Lisa is never late for school. Lisa nikada ne kasni u školu. Lisa is a very good student. And the last one, I vacuum sometimes the floor in my bedroom. What's wrong? We see sometimes here and vacuum is the verb. Vacuum je glagol usisavati. So if it's not verb to be, znači nije u pitanju glagol to be, nego neki drugi glagol, vacuum, sometimes needs to go before the verb. So the correct sentence is I sometimes vacuum the floor in my bedroom. Ja ponekad usisavam pod u mojoj sobi. Okay, so take a photo of this. Uslikajte ovaj slajd and write this in your notebooks after the class. Napisat ćete ga u sveske posle časa and practice this after the class when it's all still fresh. I možete vežbati ovo i nakon časa dok je sve još sveže. And now, can for ability. Prošlog časa ste spomenuli kako ispoljavamo sposobnost. So we use can or can't. Can ukoliko nešto možemo, umemo, znamo da uradimo. And can't if we can't do something, right? Ukoliko nešto ne umemo, ne znamo ili ne možemo da uradimo. And we use the verbs i uz njih koristimo glagole u njihovom osnovnom obliku. So how can we say on ume da vozi bicikl? Of course, we use can. He can ride a bike. Ukoliko neko ume da priča na engleskom jeziku, we say she can speak English, right? And we see the boy who plays the violin. Vidimo dečaka koji ume da svira violinu. So how we can say on ume da svira violinu? He can play the violin. That's right. Let's now practice some questions. Hajde da se podsjetimo kako formiramo pitanje. To jest, kako ćemo pitati da li umeš da plivaš? We say I can't swim. Ne umem da plivam. So we use the form can't for negative. But how can we ask question? Da li umeš da plivaš? So we use can you swim? So we make inversion. We don't say you can. Znači ne kažemo you can jer to bi značilo da umemo, nego hoćemo da pitamo da li umeš da plivaš. Znači počinjemo sa can i onda tek ide zamenica koja se koristi. So we have Charlie can ski. Charlie ume da skija. Kako ćemo pitati da li Charlie ume da skija? Think and say, yes, that's right. Charlie can ski and can Charlie ski? Da li Charlie ume da skija? Next one is they can play hockey. Oni ne umeju da igraju hokej. I kako ćemo postaviti pitanje? Da li oni umeju da igraju hokej? Da li znaju da igraju hokej? Again, we start with can and we ask, can they play hockey? Da li oni umeju ili znaju da igraju hokej? The sentence is, he can't ride a bike. On ne ume da vozi bicikl. Pa kako ćemo postaviti pitanje da li on ume da vozi bicikl? Think about it. That's right. Can he ride a bike? Okay, to practice all of this, da bismo ovo sve izvežbali uz pomoć glagola can za sposobnost, I have a short homework for you. So it's homework time. Uslikat ćete ovaj slajd i uradit ćete zadatak za domaćin. Take a photo of this slide and do this task for homework. You need to choose the correct answers. Izaberi tačne odgovore. So if the sentence is, can they play tennis? Da li oni umeju da igraju tenis? Koji odgovor je tačan? Think about it. Razmislite o tome. Practice this. And this is the end of the class. So until next class, take care, stay safe, and I wish you all the best. Goodbye.